Good afternoon. Today I want to share Psalm 130, verse 5, which says, I wait for the Lord. My soul does wait, and in his word do I hope. I just had such an amazing week this past week where I was able to see God's hand at work in so many situations. So I apologize now if this gets long, but I just needed to share all of this. And I hope that it encourages someone out there who may be waiting for the Lord or not understanding what he is doing, but to encourage you to wait for him and see what he does. My husband had vacation this past week and this coming week in order to go hunting. And he was able to go out Monday and Tuesday. Just a few hours on Tuesday, though. And then he started to not feel well. And he was frustrated and discouraged because he enjoys hunting and he wasn't feeling up to it. But I just was like, well, you have vacation. You're not having to work when you're not feeling well, which is what he usually does. Or you don't have to take off, use sick time in order to stay home. So I saw God, his hand at work in that. Then my car needed to be inspected on Friday. And I need it for work. So he said, well, I'm off so you can take my car. And I was not real comfortable with that because his car has had issues and I'm just not used to driving his car. But I was like, we'll see. Well, he needed to go somewhere Thursday night. And his car just didn't want to go. So he turned around and came back and took my car. And I, again, was thankful. I'm like, if I had taken your car on Friday, I could have gotten stuck on the highway or I wouldn't have been able to get to work. And my daughter and I both work. So work would have been short 2 people instead of just 1. And so, I saw his hand there. And so even though it was a little bit, frustrating for my husband, he had to get up early. He took us in my car over to work, dropped us off, and then came back and dropped my car off to be inspected. And then he discovered that it is his transmission, again, in his car. So he and my son went to look at some cars. And my phone decided, I had been getting messages in the morning and earlier in the afternoon, but somehow it needed to be rebooted. So I never got the text that said my car was done. And I didn't discover my phone had a problem until I went to call my husband to say, okay, you can come to get us. We are going to be done in about a half hour. So my daughter did that and I rebooted my phone. My husband came in his old car that, has had its issues, but it was good for just around town. And as we were coming home, it was still light enough that, he had his headlights on, but people could see us. But when we went to use that to go pick up my car that was ready, we had someone behind us flashing their lights at us. And it was just through town. It's not far from where we live. And my husband was like, why is he flashing his lights? My headlights are on. And I'm like, well, maybe something is wrong at the back. Maybe your lights aren't on. And he kind of dismissed that, but we got to pick up my car and he discovered indeed his rear running lights weren't working. They were not on. His brake lights worked though. So I was like, okay, well, I'll follow you home so nobody hits you. And we got separated when we had to turn onto a different road. And I just had to pray, God, please help that person who's flying by to not hit my husband. And thankfully, my husband hit his brakes and the man saw him and didn't hit him. We got home safely. But my husband realized, okay, it's time. I need to trade in both of these cars. And so he went on Saturday to go do that. And I went to have bestie time with my friend, my best friend, who we haven't seen each other for a couple of weeks due to me being sick and her being sick. So we went shopping, and I get a call from my husband saying, "Where are you at?" And I told him, and he said, "Well, you are on the title for both of these cars. You need to come and sign the paperwork for me to trade these in, because I'm going to buy this other car." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll be there." We got there just as they were getting ready to sign the paperwork. And I signed, and I got put on the title of our new to us vehicle, which my husband has wanted a four-wheel drive for a long time. And this one is all-wheel drive, so it should at least be good for him to get to work. It had low miles. It's a four-cylinder, not a 6 or 8 like he was used to in other bigger vehicles. But he will hopefully have this one for a while, and it will be good for him. And again, I saw God's hand, because a few months back I had looked and I was kind of like, okay, we're a little lower on finances than we were last year, but I trust you, Lord. My husband got a long overdue raise, and then I started working. And when I looked at this week at just our checking account, I was like, how do we have that much in there? And so we had that money that we needed for this vehicle in our checking account. And yes, our checking account took a hit, but it was within our budget. And I have money in savings that I can transfer if I need to. But I am trusting God that we aren't going to need that to do that, and that we'll continue to just be okay. And so I just saw God's hand, that my husband had vacation and didn't need sick time, and he didn't need to work when he was not feeling well, and his car acted up while he was driving, and he knew what to do, because I would not have known that he had vacation in order for him to be able to take me to work so my daughter and I could get there. That God kept us safe when it was his rear lights not working, and that we knew that so we could trade that one in as well. That we had the finances. That he could get a hold of me to say, hey, you need to come and sign this work, these paperwork, It was just so amazing. So I just want you to know, I had that peace all week. I was seeing God's hand at work, and I just kept saying, okay, God, I don't know what you're doing, but let's see what you're going to do. I trust you. And he proved himself to be faithful. So whatever you're dealing with, I know there's times you're kind of going, okay, God, what are you doing? I don't understand. But I just want to encourage you, give it to God. Tell him you trust him. Say, I don't know what you're doing, but let's see what you're going to do. And then wait, because he will answer. He will come through, and you will see how faithful our God is. God bless.